the UK is very nature depleted, which we'll get onto later. But do you think how close do you think they both are to the biodiversity they have? Because I thought this would be really intriguing to ask you specifically with your work with WWF Madagascar. Do you think, because we always see that Madagascar is this place that has all this incredible endemic wildlife, but I think these days it's you know, like you were mentioning, overfishing happens and so forth. I'll let you continue, but I wonder what your thoughts would be on that.
So yeah, the wildlife of Madagascar is in trouble for a number of reasons, but mainly, to be honest, it's about poverty. So Madagascar is the poorest country on earth. There was an analysis by the World Bank last year, and it's literally bottom of the table. It's the poorest country in the world, and because of that, you know, because of that, people are much more heavily dependent on biodiversity and on ecosystems than people in our countries are. So, so yes, our country in Britain, we're heavily wildlife depleted, but most of our wildlife was already lost a long time ago. And apart from, yes, we still have, you know, HS2, and we still have roads being built, and we still have houses being built on fields and stuff. But the big difference is, in this country, we get our food from a shop. Whereas if you're a Malagasy person living in rural Madagascar, you get your food from the land. And that means if you don't have any food, if the rains didn't come this year, or if there was a big storm that destroyed your crop or whatever, then you know you don't have money. There's nowhere you can go. There's nothing else you can do except go to the ocean to fish, or head into the forest to chop down a tree to sell, or to find some birds you can shoot to eat. So the people are much more dependent on, you know, ecosystems for their survival and for their income. And because of that, the biodiversity is still being lost really, really rapidly. There's still a lot of deforestation. So yes, Britain has lost most of its wildlife, but we've sort of bottomed out. You know, we've been going down this steep slope of decline for hundreds of years, and we're at the bottom now, whereas Madagascar is still going down very, very fast. And I've completely forgotten my other point. Oh no, I haven't, I've remembered. Okay. So, the other difference between Britain and Madagascar is that Madagascar used to be almost entirely forest. And that means all the wildlife in Madagascar is adapted to living in forests. Whereas in Britain, we have wildlife that lives in forests, but we have wildlife that lives in grasslands, we have wildlife that lives in open areas, and that's the same on most continents. So, you know, in Africa, you've got rainforests, you've got savannas. And so what that means is, if you have a forest and you clear that forest, then, and you convert it into grassland or pastures or something, then yes, you'll have lost all the forest wildlife, but you'll get other wildlife in its place. The forest disappears, forest wildlife disappears, but the grassland wildlife will come in. So when you get deforestation or habitat destruction, you get a change in the wildlife, but you don't get a total disappearance of all wildlife. But in Madagascar, almost everything lives in a forest. So when the forest is gone, there is literally nothing left. So, you know, I take the train down to Kent quite a lot because I work at University of Kent. And sometimes when I'm too distracted and struggling for work, I just sit outside the window, and none of what I'm looking at is good wildlife habitat. It's all agricultural fields, but I would still see lots and lots of birds out the train window. In Madagascar, you just don't see that. Once the forest is gone, you see nothing. So you can drive for hours and hours and hours between between cities, and you literally will not see a single bird. Imagine that, driving for 3 hours and not seeing a single bird. It's tragic.